Why do you think the anti-Gamergate people didn't talk to you?
Oof. Well, I have some theories. One, it was interesting when I looked up the anti-Gamergate crowd, how many of them sort of predicted the elitism that later became a cultural point, which is, and like I have elitist roots, right? I mean, I'm the only college dropout in my family. Everyone in my family has 2 degrees. Um, you know, they're well off, they're successful, you know, I mean, shit, if you Google Koretzky, I think the first thing that comes up is my cousin Gary, who's a cancer researcher and like just retired as a dean at Duke. I mean, like these are, I understand, I understand that. I don't say elite like they're evil people. I just think you're a fish only swimming in your own water. And most of the anti-Gamergate crowd were very East Coast people. And I say that not to make them an other, like I am them. I totally get what that is. And that they just have a different view of the world. And it's not a disagreeable view, but what it is, it's a kind of pompous view. So to them, I forget what was the guy's name who's freaking on Jeopardy or whatever. We had a brief
Oh, Arthur
conversation
Chu.
before he
It
walked in.
ends tonight.
Oh,
I remember
Jesus.
he's. Some people say he called in the bomb threat, but I don't believe that. He's the one who tweeted
Yeah.
out "It ends tonight," right like hours before the bomb threat came in. It was like that morning. He tweeted it out.
Wow, that's pretty good timing. We had a brief conversation where he's like, "No, you're wrong. This is wrong," and I was like, so I was trying to ask him, well, tell me how you know that. What research? Point me in the right direction. I'm agnostic on this. I'll go where this takes me. So just tell me. And he said, I don't need to do any research. I know it's wrong. And I'm thinking like, this is the same kind of crowd that gets mad correctly at fundamentalists, anybody, Christians, Jews, Muslims, like gets mad at anyone who's fundamentally religious and is unquestioning about their beliefs. But they can exhibit that same thing on a situational basis. So when that crowd decides that Gamergate is wrong, they will all follow on. That's what that block list was. I mean, what the weirdest thing is to have a block list at all. If you're that if you're that smart and well educated, why would you block people that's on a list and you haven't even like why should I do this? Like you're not even asking any questions. You are no different than a Southern Baptist going to church and listening to the pastor say, you got to vote for this guy because the other guy is evil and it's going to hell. Oh, I guess I better do that. Like you are no different. So I understand, right? They're in their own social circle. They care about the opinions of others in their social circle. You are not in their social circle. So at some level, it's easy just to go along. So I don't even know what this fucking thing is. I'm not a gamer. Some of them are obviously misogynistic asshole harassers. It's true. Some of them are. But I'll go along with someone saying all of them are. Why not? Because it doesn't affect my days at the country club or going to Soho or doing anything. So yeah. So I just think it was just easy to do. And there was no downside to them because the people that were pro Gamergate didn't swim in the same water they did.
Do you think there was anything that the Gamergate people could have done, the pro Gamergate people, to dispel this narrative that we were misogynistic or harassers?
We had a lot of discussions about that because, like you said earlier, I kept hearing, well, we're a leaderless movement. And I kept saying, so elect some leaders or at least some spokespeople. And they're like, well, that goes against what we believe. I said, that's fine. I'm not criticizing how you want to run. I'm going to criticize your anger because you can't be a leaderless movement and then get mad when people come to conclusions about it that you may not like. Because like, well, we're not doing the harassing. Those are third-party trolls or a small percentage of the people that claim to be in our group. And I would even agree with them. I said, look, I've met enough of you to know I've definitely met some assholes and They deserve to be condemned, arrested, or whatever. But I also met a lot of people that were legitimately concerned about stuff. So I agree with you. However, if this is a system you want in place, take responsibility for it. Because you can't then blame people for not spending 6 hours on a stream like I did to figure this shit out, because they got other priorities in their life. If you want to get people's attention, just like you pay attention to certain things, usually there's a person, right? When you watch a movie or read a book or watch a TV show, the plot unfurls by people. Journalists are supposed to write about people. There's no person here that's even a spokesperson for your. They don't have to be the leader. They don't have to give you marching orders, but who? That's what I was trying to get at with the panel to pick the panel. Who are the people that you feel say, 70, 80% of the things they say, you're like, that's what we're about. You may disagree with 20 or 30% of it, right? But 2/3 of it, yeah, that's my guy. That's my woman. That's who I can nod my head when they're talking and go, fuck yeah. And I could never get that definitive list. And if you don't have that definitive list, that means that you can't all agree even 2/3 of the time. And then you're mad at everyone else for not agreeing with you or understanding you ever. That's just weird to me.
The leaderless structure obviously has certain downsides, but it does seem like the media covered Black Lives Matter and was like way more positive, even though that's also a leaderless movement, or even Occupy Wall Street.
Well, I was just going to say Occupy Wall Street is a better example, because I was actually at Occupy Wall Street in New York, because we were doing that journalism conference that Totila was speaking at. And I sent students down there, and it was such a shit show, because like they couldn't do anything without having, like, they couldn't make the smallest decisions without everyone participating. And then they had this weird thing where, like, I'm a white man, so I should speak the least, and like, I'm a black woman, so I should speak the most. And I'm like, no, I'm all for equality, but like, you're now spent an hour arguing about how you're going to debate. And that trust me, they were as pissed to this day, because I'm a boring business reporter now. Back when that was going on, we actually covered Occupy from all the business things they want to do, like how their economic policies were just not going to work. Like, liberal or conservative, I don't care, because I could agree with some of the things they want, right? But it ain't going to work. And they were furious. I heard the same things about Occupy after Airplay that I heard doing Airplay. Same thing. Like, you don't get us. You don't understand us. The media isn't covering us right. They're making fun of us. They're saying we're all communists. Well, dude, that's your fault. Because what am I supposed to do about that? And they actually told us, well, you could live here with us. Like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I like to shower, and like, it's not my fucking job. I mean, I'll write about you. But there are better journalists to do. I got involved in GamerGate because I'm pretty self-actualized. I'm a D-list journalist. I mean, I freelance for the New York Times, but they would never hire me. I'm a college dropout. However, I wanted to get involved in GamerGate because it was obvious that no other traditional trained journalist was going to do it. Occupy, a whole bunch of journalists covered it, and by and large did a good job pointing out how fucked up it was. Black Lives Matter is different because that is an organization.
Well, the
Like, they
organization's
are.
corrupt, though. It's a separate thing.
Oh no, that definitely. I don't argue with that. There's been good journalism by journalists who agree with Black Lives Matter's politics, but they will still write about the management of the money and everything else. But they are an organization, right? They were founded by someone. They were chartered. They have a company. They have a website that has a person on it. You can contact a spokesman. So it is not a leaderless movement at all. So whether you can't compare it to Gamergate, because no one started a site called GamerGate.com to marshal all the opinions. And then journalists could go to that person. And then if you didn't like what they said, you could argue with that. Because there are people, even within the Black Lives Matter movement, that are either more progressive or more conservative within that movement, and they argue about it. But they have a focal point around which to argue. There's like a center of gravity that they can rotate around. And GamerGate was deep space with just things, asteroid belt, just shit bouncing off of everything.
I I I was like semi involved with BLM, in the sense that I like was tacitly like supporting of them after the George Floyd thing. Um, but I don't I think that like a lot of the people who supported that would say that the organization was a separate entity from the hashtag movement, and that organization doesn't represent us, or it only represents some of us. I don't think it was like
That,
they
and
all uniformly
that's probably true.
accepted.
No, look, that's probably true. But the thing is that as a journalist, I could call somebody, talk to them, and then I would have their opinion. And then if I found someone on social media saying, I disagree with Black Lives Matter on this point, then I could talk to them. And I may not get the story 100% representative, but if I get 70, 80%, that's still better than nothing. And it's still educational for the people that read it. Gamergate, I couldn't do that. I was trying to figure out how many different opinions are there. So who can I talk to that would give me, say there's 3 or 4 sides of this story, right? So, there, because within the BLM movement, there are people that are like defund the police, and other people are like, that's fucking stupid. Like, reform the police, but why would you do that? That's ridiculous. So there's an argument within the movement, but it's a defined argument. I just explained it to you. No one could explain to Sharon Dutton what Gamergate was. And Milo proved that point for talking for 10 minutes about something that wasn't Gamergate, and everyone was telling me to shut up so he could keep talking about not Gamergate. That was not a good sign.
I do think you're being a little bit too harsh though. Maybe it's because I was involved, but like it seemed like I was involved in like every capacity almost at GG. Or like I was literally in like tons of private DM groups and stuff. Like I knew like all the shit that was going on. Most of it behind the scenes stuff, a lot of it active stuff that was happening. I was, on most of the forums. Like we
No,
had message
your
boards,
bona
right? We
fides,
have
your bona
message
fides are
boards.
unimpeachable. I mean, that's true. I don't, I will grant, I'll stipulate right now that you definitely know what's going on. So tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm not married to any of my opinions here. This is my experience, but
So it seemed like there
just
were like
like back then, I just want to know what you think.
I mean, I think that there were like 4 major Gamergate communities, and you could like throw in like there were like over 2 dozen probably altogether. Um, but there were like 4 major ones, and like you could go to each of those as a journalist, ask
What
people, hey,
were
what do
so
you think?
tell me those communities. What were the 4? The 4 big
Kota-
ones out of the 12.
Kotaku in Action on Reddit,
Yeah, I remember
Gamergate
that.
HQ on 8chan, V on 8chan. They had a permanent Gamergate thread on 8chan. Every day was a new thread. Um, and then Twitter, which obviously Twitter is, kind of a mall, but like you could go to any of like the forums, like the 3 forums, and like ask people, hey, what are you guys about? And like you'll probably get a bunch of answers. And like there's gonna be disagreement, but you'll probably get like a general like ish consensus from like 80 or 90% of the people, I'd say. It's about
That's funny
ethics,
because
it's about censorship, it's about,
I guess I was on KAI. I later set up some journalists to actually interview the mods, but Twitter was a shit show because I remember going to work one morning and then at my lunch hour checking my phone, and I remember the number 2,912. That's how many notifications I had over one thing that I had posted. And it was weird. I would post something on my personal blog, which is not SEO, to just whatever. And I would have, I mean, literally, you can still go there. There's like hundreds of comments. And then I would go to KIA and read hundreds of more comments. And I always remember the 8chan post was my favorite one. It was a shitty Photoshop job, but it was the word went with the image was someone said Koretzky sucks donkey dicks. Or so Koretzky sucks camel dicks because it started with donkey dicks. So no, he sucks camel dicks because those are nastier. I don't know how they knew that. And then there was a Photoshop image underneath that of me actually doing it with the words, "Why insult camels?" And I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. I'm not offended by that. Can we get back to talking about the issue? And then on 8chan, they called KIA a bunch of pussies. So I'm like, why? So I never got an explanation. It just went back to dicks. Um, so I don't know. I mean, maybe you're right, but at least in my experience, the 8chan people, for some reason, thought the KIA people were like not committed enough. I don't know what it was.
Well,
I never got an answer. It
which
just always went
8chan
back to
community
crazy.
though? Because there was a rogue group of GamerGate people. You may have heard the term GG Revolt.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Were they the ones who were saying that we were pussies?
I don't, I'm amazed at how much I don't remember anymore. When I remembered every detail of it at the time, I don't remember. I just
Yeah.
remember that, like, I remember thinking someone would tell me, like, oh, okay, well, let's go there. This will be easy. And then I'll go over here 4chan. Then I'll go to 8chan. Then I'll listen to this stream. Then I'll listen to that stream. Then I have to go to this site. Then there's this manifesto, this alternate Wikipedia thing that I have to read. And then, like, I was like, fuck, this isn't really helping. Like, it was, I just, what I wanted to do is I wanted to, it's kind of ironic being a college dropout, but I wanted to take all of them, put them in a classroom and teach them how to write. Because maybe that's the issue. Maybe if I could help them distill their thoughts into essay-like form that, start with a conclusion, start with your thesis, then explain it. Instead of like everything I remember I think it was Oliver Campbell. He's like, airplay is only going to be 4 hours. It's got to be at least 8. I'm like, dude, like like no one's going to do that. So like the big argument when we started organizing airplay was that, well, this wasn't a universal argument, but I don't remember who made it, but I am censoring Gamergate because I am by limiting the time, I am lying about being agnostic about this. I'm like, yeah, but that works both ways. If anything Gamergate actually does show up, they get limited too. So any any limit that equally affects both sides is not censorship, and that's why I'm kind of bummed they didn't show up because in a way it would have been better for discussing Gamergate. I think actually the way it turned out was actually better for the journalism, which I don't know how many people there cared about.